The crisp October air in Kursk, a Russian border city long synonymous with sleepy provincial life, turned suffocatingly thick with smoke and screams just after 3 a.m. on October 21, 2025, as a swarm of Ukrainian drones descended on the city's main railway station like shadows from a vengeful storm. What began as a routine overnight halt for passenger trains ferrying conscripts and civilians alike erupted into pandemonium when 6 UJ-26 Beaver drones, low-flying predators honed in Kyiv's clandestine workshops, pierced the darkness to strike at the heart of Russia's logistics lifeline. The lead drone slammed into the station's main depot at 3:07 a.m., its thermobaric payload detonating amid a cluster of parked locomotives and cargo cars loaded with ammunition bound for the front near Sudza, igniting a chain reaction that engulfed 3 platforms in a roaring inferno. Eyewitness videos, timestamped and surging across Telegram channels before Russian censors could scramble, captured the horror, a blinding flash that severed a passenger car's undercarriage, sending it derailing into a siding with a screech of tortured metal, while secondary explosions from munitions crates lit the sky in staccato bursts of orange and white, debris arcing 50 meters high like shrapnel confetti over the frozen tracks. This wasn't a haphazard probe but a meticulously orchestrated hit, part of Ukraine's escalating iron harvest campaign to sever Russia's rail arteries that pulse with troops and material to the Donbas meat grinder. Launched from mobile catapults 80 kilometers away in Sumy Oblast, the Beaver's compact quad rotors with 200-kilometer ranges and evasion algorithms smuggled via Western Tekla hugged the terrain at 150 feet to dodge S-400 radars, their payloads calibrated for maximum disruption amid the station's bustle. Kursk's rail hub, a nexus for the Moscow-Kursk-Kharkiv line, handled 15 trains nightly amid the war's churn, but the drones targeted the sweet spot. A siding stacked with flat cars hauling T-72 tanks and Grad launchers for the 11th Army Corps, plus 2 passenger trains idling with 400 souls aboard, weary evacuees from Bryansk and fresh recruits bound for the front. The Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, claiming responsibility through anonymous channels, dubbed it Retribution's derailment, a nod to the 200-plus Russian trains they've sabotaged since 2023. Choking supply lines that have cost Moscow $2.5 billion in reroutes and repairs. By 3:15 a.m., the second and third drones struck, one cratering the signal tower, plunging the yard into blackout as sparks danced from severed cables, the other gutting a fuel tender that belched black smoke 100 meters high, blanketing the platforms in toxic fog that choked screams and sirens alike. Chaos unfurled like a derailed freight in the station's confines, turning the orderly hub into a kill zone of shattered glass and twisted steel. Sirens wailed amid the crackle of flames as passengers of families clutching bundles, soldiers in ill-fitting fatigue stumbled from coaches into the conflagration, their nightshirts singed by leaping embers while rescuers in smoke-blackened gear battled to douse the blaze with hoses fed from the Psyal River. One clip, geolocated to Platform 3 and viewed 2 million times on X before throttling, showed a mother shielding her toddler from falling debris as a carriage buckled, the child's wail piercing the roar while a conscript dragged her to safety, his uniform aflame. The Kursk regional governor, Alexander Anfarov, declared a state of emergency at 4 a.m. via telegram, urging calm amid the deployment of 500 National Guard troops to cordon the site, their armored Urals rumbling through traffic choked by fleeing vehicles and abandoned luggage. By 5:30 a.m., the toll mounted, 28 dead, per initial Russian Health Ministry reports, including 12 civilians from the passenger trains and 16 railway workers caught in the depot's epicenter, their bodies carbonized amid the slag of melted rails. Over 120 injured flooded Kursk's regional hospital, corridors overflowing with burns that peeled skin like parchment, shrapnel wounds stitching lacerated limbs, and inhalation cases gasping through soot-clogged lungs, while ambulances from Belgorod queued amid the gridlock. Footage from the aftermath, a deluge of smuggled clips and hacked CCTV feeds, wove a visceral tapestry of the shock that would reverberate across Russia. Shaky phone reels captured the lead Beaver's descent, a black silhouette dipping low over the perimeter fence, evading a panzer barrage that lit the horizon in futile tracer arcs before the warhead kissed the depot, the bloom vaporizing 2 flat cars loaded with grad pods in a secondary cataclysm that hurled tank treads 200 meters into a nearby apartment block. Ground-level videos, posted by a station guard before his signal died, showed the derailment in slow-motion horror, the passenger car tilting amid the screech of flanges on rails, coaches accordioning into each other as passengers tumbled like rag dolls, while flames licked the undercarriage, igniting seats and suitcases in a fire that belched acrid plastic fumes. Ukrainian operators, from a mobile command post in Konotop, hailed the hit as supplies severing, their drones' autonomy enhanced with NATO-supplied jammers allowing mid-air path shifts turning Russia's air shield into a sieve. President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a 7 a.m. address from Kyiv's fortified war room amid reciprocal blackouts from a Russian missile volley on Kharkiv, framed it as poetic reversal. They bomb our rails to starve us, we derail their death trains for every civilian lost in Shaska, a halt in Kursk. His words, broadcast amid the hum of generators, struck a chord with a populace hardened by 600 drone incursions in the past month alone, their skies a bi-directional gauntlet. This rail raid crowned a month of Ukrainian ingenuity outpacing Russian inertia, where Kyiv's drone fleet to now 70,000 units monthly from Dnipro basements had inverted the terror equation since the September 12 probe that downed 46 en route to Moscow. Strikes escalated, 84 intercepted on October 6, 200 plus on the 7th and 14th, each wave deeper, targeting logistics like the Saratov refinery hit on the 16th that idled 15% of refining capacity amid looming fuel shortages strangling Donbas advances. The Kursk station, a linchpin for the 11th Corps meat waves, saw 20 flat cars vaporized, per OSINT satellite scans from Maxar, crippling 50 tank transports and forcing reroutes via Bryansk that added 72 hours to front deliveries. A $150 million dent in Moscow's $1.8 trillion war chest. Economists in Kyiv pegged the broader ripple at $300 million quarterly. Stalled offensives over corpses in the mud, as leaked conscript audio painted the front's futility, while Russia's retort a 250 drone swarm on Sumy by noon, killing 3 in a market only amplified the cycle's cruelty. Russians, long shielded from the war's bite, confronted its proximity with a fracture of fury and fracture. Telegram channels boiled, state amplifiers decried NATO's ghost drones, while dissidents mocked Putin's Iron Curtain as tissue paper. One meme of a derailed train captioned Kursk Express to nowhere, racking 500,000 shares before purges. Small protests flickered in Kursk's central square. No rails for rubble. A dispersed biomen batons amid the acrid haze, while volunteers from Orel hauled hoses to the blaze, their trucks grinding through checkpoints lined with grim-faced troops. In Moscow's war rooms, Lavrov thundered UN condemnations of Kyiv's rail terrorism, hinting at asymmetric thunder that chilled NATO's Brussels night, while emergency huddles pledged $100 million in jammer tech to Ukraine amid Trump's Truth Social musing on a drone derby begging endgame for the bereaved and Kursk's overflowing morgues. The geopolitics dissolved in salt, a child's backpack scorched amid the wreckage, a widow clutching a melted wedding band from her husband's conductor uniform. Amid the twisted tracks, resilience flickered like emergency flares. Railway crews from the region converged by 6 a.m., their welders arcing blue against the dawn as they jury-rigged sidings with salvaged rails, while community hubs brimmed with shared tea and tales of narrow escapes, forging bonds in the forge of shared ordeal. A graffiti artist, dodging patrols, scrawled a phoenix on the charred carriage it swings aflame, yet soaring over derailed tracks, a symbol of defiance etched in soot. For Ukraine, the strike declared no Russian rear sacrosanct, a parody of pain where Kursk's halt mirrored Shaska's screams from the October 4 Russian drone hell that claimed 1 life and injured 30 at a Ukrainian station. The rails, once Moscow's monopoly, now thrummed with bi-directional threats. By midday on October 21, as Mi-8 doused lingering embers with crimson cascades, Kursk exhaled a tentative breath. Tracks reopened sporadically, trains crawling amid checkpoints, cafes murmuring over scorched headlines amid the tang of burnt metal, yet scars remained. a toddler's drawing of a fiery train taped to a lamppost, a makeshift shrine of wilting flowers at the crater's edge. The raid hadn't toppled the regime, but it derailed its illusions of invulnerability, humanizing the war's abstract toll amid 600,000 Russian dead tallied by Western counts. Global shockwaves rippled. Brent crude spiked 4% on logistics jitters. Beijing's op-eds pondered Moscow's fraying grip, while the EU funneled a negation $200 million in rail hardening to Kyiv amid the churn. Cleanup sifted wreckage, unearthing beaver husks as circuits fused with Ukrainian code. Payloads slag mocking Cyrillic seals while barred observers pieced exile feeds into indictments. In Lviv's cafes, engineers toasted Horilka, plotting harvest to in Rostov's war rooms. Logisticians redrew rail webs, doctrine dented by daring drones. The firestorm's embers glowed, truth as old as sabotage. No line eternal, no rear sovereign. The shock of October 21st would fade into resolve, but its echoes hummed, illuminating a horizon where reckoning, long deferred, derailed at last.